Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. The trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday, and previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday for the past 5 years. I'm, of course, your host, that guy, Coca-Cola James, alongside Tequila Calico.
I mean, pretty much tequila. I'll take it.
I think you're more tequila than man at this point.
I mean, tequila, wine, beer. I mean, you might as well just say any alcohol. How about that?
I'll switch it
Moonshine,
every
Does it?
week.
Night, Thunderbird, Night Train, MD
Oh,
2020.
Thunderbird, no. I mean, Mad Dog 2020 has to be cold as shit for me to drink it. Like mad cold.
And if you like drinking, drain cleaner.
And Mountain Dew Scooter.
Ah, yes, and in case you were curious, it was me on the grassy knoll.
And it was a good week for wrestling with as we celebrated our 5 year anniversary interviews with Axel Lennox on Tuesday and Moondog Greg Murray on Wednesday. Two incredible interviews. Cannot recommend those enough. Go check them out in our archives. Uh, this upcoming Wednesday Wednesday, Tuesday, one of those days, we will be interviewing Olivia Rose. Just changed her name from Jade to Olivia Rose, looking for shine and Mission Pro. We talk all about that. Sketching, drawing, painting, um, haunted houses, scary movies, Scream, and a hell of a lot more. You can check that out this upcoming week. Uh, Continuing on, the 5 year anniversary, we started January 1st with a brand new Coleco Chronicles. With Coleco at Knox Pro Jingle Bell Knox. Shed some information, Coleco.
Yeah, the one thing that I always had like an issue with is like wrestling be slacking on the West Coast, or is it? I mean, the major big boys usually hardly come by. So I was like, you know what? Let me go to these indie shows and highlight some of these guys who are doing their work, right? So I got to go to Jingle Bell Knox, and oh my God, it was fun. It was basically a 2 day WrestleMania slash like event. So it was actually pretty fun, I must say. And it's always funner when the drinks are cheaper, so I'm not gonna complain about that. But just something to highlight. And as a matter of fact, they are going back in about, I think in April. So I'm thinking about going back in April. And then there's a couple of more that I'm trying to get in, and I might have to sell my soul to get the Bola, but we will have to figure that out.
Still have some time for Battle Los Angeles. I believe that takes place in September.
No, they've been flipped it because like it took place in February last year, which was crazy.
Hmm. Was not
Yeah,
aware of
like
that.
threw me off because when I saw this, like it was funny because a friend of mine were gonna go. It's like, isn't that usually during the summer? It's like, no, they did it in February last year. I was like, oh snap!
Michigan, you didn't even know
Yeah,
it.
didn't even know, but it's something to highlight those guys that are working because it's funny. Is like Compton Mania was another one that was like really really good and doesn't get a lot of play. So there's the little guys who are making it happen to entertain us.
Oh yeah. This is of course our 5 year anniversary, so as well of the Saturday preview and review format. Aside of besides being the 5 year episode, this is also going to be our 1000th upload on YouTube.
Oh,
Um,
sweet. Syndication.
oh yeah. So I mean, who
Wait a
else?
minute, this is the 1,000th? Should I like pop a bottle or something? Let me go get a bottle real quick.
Oh, I'm lighting up a cigar for it. One of my last, since I'm quitting.
Let's let's not get too excited. It's just 1,000 uploads. I mean, that's preview reviews, some specials, a
Who gives
hell of a
a
lot of
shit? It's a
interviews.
reason to celebrate, sir. Don't take away my joy. How dare you?
I mean, I'm always like, hey, can we do something for like, can we do like a 227th follower special?
I mean,
Some random number like that.
we're getting there, so maybe we will.
Hold on. Hope you hear it. Hope you hear it. Hope you hear it. Ah, there we go. It didn't pop as hard as I wanted it, but it's okay.
That's what she said.
I heard nothing.
Well, whether you joined us from episode one or just this is your first time listening to us, thank you, and we're gonna make it interesting because a lot of interesting things have happened in these last 2 weeks, to say the least. Um, because it is a great day for wrestling because we are all wrestling with the news. And one of the biggest news items that came out this week was that longtime WWE producer Kevin Dunn has left the company.
In other
Um,
words, done is done.
Dunn is done. It does seem like it's almost the. It probably is the end of an era, considering that he was the last remnant of the McMahon regime. No.
Oh, absolutely. Um, I mean, you can blame Kevin Dunn for all those random cutaways when we should have been focusing on the ring. Um, but uh, the big noise coming out of the WWE locker room is that it is a much calmer environment now that he and Vince are gone. Because I don't know if they said specifically who said this, but Triple H has never, gotten angry or blown his gasket over a decision regarding TV production or booking.
At least not yet.
Well, I mean, if anyone's going to do that, it's going to be his daughters. I mean, one's in training already, so.
Hmm. Well, what about you, Kaliko? What are your thoughts on Kevin Dunn finally retiring from WWE?
I mean, from what I read, it's not him retiring, but just leaving the wrestling business.
Right.
But this is just to say, the McMahon era is gone. Like, it seems like that's the end of it. I
That,
mean,
yeah.
and for those who kept thinking, like, I mean, it's gone in the sense of in the actual day to day operations, right? It's not gone in the overall scheme of things, but it seems like that's murder she wrote in the sense of, oh, Vince is gonna come in WWE backstage and write some shit, right?
Right. I mean, the only person that I would really say that is there that was a part of the McMahon regime was Bruce Pritchard. But there was a long stint where he wasn't as well. So
I mean, Triple H is kind of counts, but then again, he's also the face of change. So
I mean, luckily, if you ever watched something to wrestle with, um, Bruce never said a bad or cross word about Triple H. And maybe he knew something that we didn't. So, and I mean, now he's his boss, officially, properly. So, yeah. he knew who to get with when it came to the good graces. But I don't think it's that big of an impact. That
I would say it's a little bit more because of the complete joining of UFC and WWE under TKO Holdings.
right.
Uh, uh, and I'm gonna guess that there was, based on how long he's been in the business, I'm gonna assume Endeavor gave him early retirement, from their business. I wouldn't expect him to get reassigned to anything in Endeavor.
Right.
But for the new actual, technical, technically it's a combination, more of a partnership. You don't expect to really see any more MMA guys transferring over. I'd say it's a good lock for Ken Shamrock for the Hall of Fame.
It's he didn't get fired. He went out on his own terms. It's the last remnant of the McMahon era. I don't think there's too much more to say about it. Um, from Kevin Dunn leaving to the return of The Rock, in San Diego on day one. For anybody that didn't see it, Jinder Mahal was the former WWE champion returning to the company, even though he's been on WWE TV in the last, like, what, 3 months at least? Um, Not anything to be taken seriously. The Rock comes out, he does his Rock thing to Jinder Mahal, and does the Rock Bottom, does the People's Elbow, and then says, do I take a boot? Do I take a place at the bar, or do I take my place at the head of the table? Which did pop a lot of people.
I will say I don't believe he said my place. He said sit at the head of the table.
Yeah.
I mean, because clearly one would assume that The Rock is still a bit above Roman.
Just paraphrasing here, pal. But yeah, it did pop a lot of people. A lot of people are saying, okay, this is a confirmation for WrestleMania.
No.
Yeah. And will it be, a big, publicity that, The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania? But I do also feel like you're alienating the fans that have been watching all this time when you have guys like Cody and Jay, even LA Knight at this point.
I can shed a bit of light on this if you'd like.
Yeah, go.
The big thing going around is that it won't happen at WrestleMania. It'll happen at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Because the Australians have been pushing really hard for the last couple months to try and get The Rock on that show.
Yeah. And that would, make it worth, getting up at, 5:30 in the morning for me, to watch it. But, and by the way, as of last night, there is no contender for Roman at the Rumble. It's likely going to be a fatal four-way, and LA Knight, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, unless something happens, I don't think all three of them are going to be in the Rumble. But my brain, when putting all this together, led me to a 3 main event WrestleMania, and it would be Punk and Rollins, not for a title. I do believe Drew will get one more shot at the Rumble, and that's when Rollins will lose. So, if this goes according to how I'm seeing it go, WrestleMania will be Roman Cody 2, Punk Rollins in a unsanctioned match or anything goes match, and for the World Heavyweight Championship, Drew versus Jay.
That's a very interesting way to look at it. I thought Cody Roman 2, Jimmy versus Jay, and Punk versus Rollins versus the title for the title.
We've been the one thing we've we've gone back and forth on is, should it be Cody finishing his story? Should it be Jay finishing his story? And I think with Drew and Jay on night 1, and Roman and Cody on night 2, I honestly don't know if I even would consider doing a Jay Jimmy 1-on-1 match, since it's almost very clear until Roman kicks him to the curb that he's still gonna be in tag team mode with Solo. Is it likely that the bloodline finally separates and Jimmy and Solo go into tag team mode? It's likely. I don't see Jimmy getting a singles run. And honestly, I wouldn't trust it.
What do you mean by trust it?
Jay is clearly the better performer and the more charismatic performer. Jimmy got shoehorned into betraying his twin brother, for some that reason, that bullshit reason, and still ends up separated anyway. So, it's, I don't, Jimmy's a bit too reliant, on building off of everybody. And I don't think Jimmy will ever reach that. They will never have enough confidence in him specifically to give him a J push.
Well, I never said a J push for Jimmy. But you have to at least give him the opportunity to go to be a J level wrestler.
Which is why I would expect Jay and Jimmy to happen at SummerSlam. Or even at Backlash in France or in Berlin.
I mean, they still can. If The Rock, I mean, obviously, Rock and Roman is going to happen at some point. Whether I'd be fine with it being done at Elimination Chamber, but could The Rock make an appearance in a wrestling capacity at Mania as well? Is a two-shot a possibility here? Kalika? No?
I mean, depending, I could be. I don't see it because I mean, well, granted, the strike is over, but they're not really resuming anything. And I'm trying to think what other project would The Rock be on that keeps him busy. I mean, Rock or Cena at this point. But the way that he said that, it was very slickingly that it's going to happen. The question is when, and I don't see that happening at a PLE. I don't see them bringing Rock back for a PLE. I could see them bringing him back for like night 1 or 2, but a PLE for no. I mean, not for Elimination Chamber.
See, that's the thing is that a lot of a lot of fans think the time for Rock Roman has passed.
I mean, if there was a place to do it, it was going to be the Hollywood one. I mean, and you could
I
only
mean,
get it back because there's blood. So, I mean, that story's never not going to be there in the end. You know what I mean?
right, but I mean, it wasn't going to happen at Hollywood. It was. I mean, people thought it would, but sometimes, I mean, what we want sometimes it never comes when we want it, but it comes right on time. And like right now, at this point, even with the thought of it, they're firing on all cylinders right now. Have we ever seen a hotter start to to for WWE in in any first of the year? Because this is nuts. This is bananas. The fact that he even came and just spoke it, and I'm telling you right now, I've been in that arena for a lot of things. That pop was the craziest pop I've ever heard in that building since I've been here in my 20 years.
You just need Cena back, and we'll have 2012 all over again.
I know it's like 2013 all over again. Punk's back, Rock's back, Rock is back, fucking with Punk shit. Goddamn, Orton's back
for the last night, for the first time last night.
I mean, it's just bananas at this point. It's just crazy how it's 2013 again. But honestly, it just brings more intrigue, and I'm here for it. But I do think, I mean, Scooter's thought process, I'm starting to come with that. My only issue is that the way Damien tried to cash in and how Drew kept them from cashing in, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how they're playing that. I don't think Cody is gonna I mean, is Cody gonna go against Roman again? It's hard for me to see it because unless he just wins the Rumble again twice in a row, I don't see that happening. But based on the odds,
What if The Rock wins the Rumble?
He won't.
He won't. There's no fucking way. No.
Yeah, there's no way he's gonna.
It would have to go to somebody who's going for the heavyweight title, and then they would have to come up with a contender for the other.
Yeah, and the thing about Priest is he's still got 6 months left.
Yeah,
he does.
And
the question,
he's not going to cash in at Mania.
I don't see him cashing it.
I mean, unless he tries to do it on for the World Heavyweight Championship, on the end of night 1. But I don't see that with the potential of Drew leaving. They may that's why I think they may give him night one to main event, with hopes he may resign, or in the case he leaves, he could say he's at least had an actual, crowd-filled WrestleMania main event. And no, I'm not caught. Drew and Bobby was not a main event.
No, it was not.
No, it wasn't. But it felt like it to me, though.
Alright, so let's kind of put a nail in this. Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania. Good for business, bad for business. Scooter.
Uh, I don't think it will be bad for business. I don't think. I really don't think. Even though it's an anniversary year for Mania, that I don't think having it at Mania is going to be as successful as they think it'll be successful, just not to the greater extent. If it were, in Australia, where it's been quite a long time since they've done a show in Australia, a couple of years at least.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah. So, it's somewhere in the middle.
Kaliko, good for business, bad for business. Rock versus Roman at Mania.
Good for casuals. Good overall, but bad in the sense that it's kind of cutting away stories that they spent the year building on, which is basically they're going back to where it was. Uh, but the good news is that they have enough stars and stories to where they can kind of make up for that in a sense.
Yeah.
I think it'll be viewed by everybody named Mama because it's casual, and one of the first wrestlers people think of when they think of pro wrestling from back in the day is The Rock. So it is what it is. He's going to draw the eyeball. He's going to draw the Twitter following thing. He's going to draw all of that, and just a matter of how they book it.
Somebody that nobody's talking about, but WWE is interested in, is Kamile from the NWA. Her contract just came up with the company. She won't be resigning as of right now, and they said that WWE made her an offer. Um, Camille has been, a staple of that company for a good amount of time, and they really put everything behind her, especially on the women's division side. Um, if she does go to WWE, do you see her doing well? Good.
Oh man, I saw this too, and there's another potential big name signing coming from the other side of the world, and of course I mean Julia, if that's how you pronounce her name, Julia. Camille would be an interesting get, but I I think the WWE would repackage her, since not a lot of people are keeping track anyway of the NWA and Billy Corgan making announcements from his home.
I mean, they have an office building. So.
I mean, could this open a doorway for maybe if Camille comes along? Maybe do we get Ken Anderson back?
Ken Anderson back in WWE?
Yeah.
How?
Well, Well, you know, I don't expect NWA, to have their contracts, so ironclad that the talent can't go anywhere. And given that Kamile has worked with him a good deal over on Power, if it would probably help her a bit rather than the outright flop of Scarlett's initial run, Emma's return. There's a bunch of those women who came in again or are just not they're not making the mark. I think they would probably keep her off TV probably even longer than Jade.
Well, they were saying to the initial plan was to bring her on NXT.
Well, that's a good choice.
Right.
If they could maybe even a slight, a one-time appearance as Kamile in the Royal Rumble, given that it's expected that Naomi is coming back, especially now that Sasha isn't. Besides her, buying out both WWE and AEW, and NWA and Impact being united under one front that Sasha owns. It will be interesting, but she probably really does need to get familiar with the WWE style.
Kaliko, Kamile and WWE, your thoughts, if it actually does come to fruition?
I mean, that's a huge get. I mean, that girl was there from like the inception of the reincarnation of NWA. So it would be a get nonetheless. Depends on where she goes. It just stacks that women's division. I think the women's division, some of it is top heavy, and I don't know what they're going to do because I would think she would have to be on the main roster. Because
I mean, considering
Jesus knows, Rhea Ripley has been running through everybody and their mama on this goddamn roster. So something's going to have to give, right?
Well, somebody that is going to be on the sidelines for a little bit of time, Rachel Gonzalez,
Raquel Gonzalez.
Rodriguez, for anybody that doesn't know, was diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome.
MCAS. Yep.
Which seems to be some type of version of eczema. It's really terrible, considering, she was getting somewhat of a push. And she could have been maybe one of the people to be a viable threat for Rhea.
I have to say this right now. MCAS is not about eczema. It is a condition which the patient experiences repeated episodes of the symptoms of anaphylaxis, an allergic reaction, over and over. So while hives is one of those things, that also includes swelling, difficulty breathing, low blood pressure, and a couple of other things. So it is a bit more serious.
Okay. So this is a matter of just her health at this point, right?
Yes.
So I think it's best to just wish her well, and hopefully she'll make a return to the ring, when she is healthy.
The the thing is, it depends on this, the symptoms she's exhibiting, and if they can actually be treated with this, the medications that are used in something like that. The question is physical activity like pro wrestling still a feasible option once she's on this stuff regularly, because this doesn't go away.
Right. Definitely wishing her well. Hopefully, she is able to make a return to start up to when it comes to this stuff. Um, Keeping on the women, and you mentioned it before, Scooter. It seems like Naomi's exile to TNA, contract, is coming up, and she is expected to make a return to the WWE. Um, I like Naomi, but considering we have a stacked women's roster at this point, we just got Jade Cargill coming sooner rather than later. Is it really a big deal for Naomi to come back, or is he just going to be stuck in the lost in the shuffle like she was before even all of these goals were here? Kaliko, why don't you start us off?
It's gonna be hard. It just depends on how they book these people. Because I'm assuming if they're wanting to keep these tag titles, they're gonna have to start forming tag teams instead of two single people come together with a common cause for the championship, right?
Right.
And that's where I think the issue was lied when they merged all the titles, because of the fact of the matter is that at first they were so in need of women that they had to merge it to make it a tweener title. But now that we have this influx of signings and possible returns, it kind of forces their hand to do something, to backtrack some shit that they already did.
Is it
So,
possible?
I mean, it just depends. It depends on where they put her, who they put her with, what's the story. Because I feel like in this, I think on SmackDown everything is just going with how Damage Control is going, right? And on Raw, it's just Rhea Ripley and nobody else when it comes to the title. Of course, they did the Nia Jax Becky Lynch story 5 years later, but I mean,
Uh,
better late than never, right? Uh, so yeah, it's just a matter of how they position these girls. And then Charlotte's on the shelf, so they need some people. They need some stars. It's just a matter of how they how they make them fit in their puzzles.
You think there's a possibility of a Jade Cargill Naomi tag team?
mm,
Mm, now with Nia back, she's more related to Nia than Jay Cargill.
Did they do that already?
mm, mm,
Uh,
no, it did. It did. You're thinking of
it
Tamina.
did her and Tamina, and Tamina retired. Fun fact.
Tamina retired?
Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Mm, I have a running theory on all this. By the way, the felony against Liv Morgan was dropped.
Yeah.
So now she's on a misdemeanor. Next court date's February 20th. It's possible we could see her as well. In fact, I almost expect it. I have a whole another theory about Naomi and Rhea Ripley's next opponent, but I think the WWE is going to. Oh wait, no, they checked off this statistic. They checked it off back at 36. No,
The
36.
diversity hire?
Yeah, I was going to say an all and all diversified main event for night one. Bianca, Jade, Naomi.
Oh, you talking about night one, nigga night, night two, white folk night.
Oh, God. I'm not.
That's what I called it. That's what I called it.
I'm not Bob Iger. I'm not running Disney here and forcing that into places where it shouldn't be. And James knows what I'm talking about. It's yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say, yay for Naomi and AJ Lee. April will come back and be the one to face Rhea. Mark my words.
Well,
that's a. But you can say Negro. You can say Negro.
Hey, no, I have no pass.
In Spanish is negro, so you know.
Negro casas. That's one thing.
let's get out of this segment before Scooter gets herself cancelled.
Drakkar Noir.
You can't get canceled. There's white rappers that say that.
To wrap up the Trinity segment, if she does come back to the WWE, I'm happy for her. I hope she enjoys the catering.
And she shouldn't. Wait a minute, bullshit. And she shouldn't have been fired in the first place. She let her feelings. She let Sasha fucking abandon her. Corey Graves was right all along. Corey Graves was right the whole time.
Naomi was a veteran compared to Sasha, and she let Sasha, have such influence over her.
Yes. Damn shame.
Well,
she essentially chose Sasha, over, working in the biggest storyline ever. So.
Well, one controversy to another controversial figure. Patrick Clark, the Velveteen Dream, has resurfaced. He made a video stating that he was sorry for all his misdemeanors in the past couple of years. He apologized to his fans, WWE, one Paul Levesque and Shawn Michaels. And he's trying to essentially rebuild his image so he can possibly make a return run.
Ain't gonna fucking happen.
Jericho, agree?
I think it's possible. I mean, never say never. I just saw CM Punk come back after all that bullshit.
Yeah, but the CM Punk was not accused of grooming.
Yeah. There was no minors present in Punk's allegation.
I understand all that. I think the first step of him was just to take accountability, right?
Oh,
So
good. It's many years too late. You know, from and I've never actually really opened up about this, but I am a victim of that abuse myself, and mine came from a little bit of a worse place. It came from with inside my family, my bloodline, so to speak. And when you do that sort of stuff to people, the victims never forget, and especially here since it gained such global notice. If that ever were to happen, it would be the one bad decision Triple H would make. That that clearly, Jesus Freak HBK would speak out against. It's he made his own bed. Let him fucking lie in it.
I mean, I understand where Kaliko is coming from, where, he's trying to make amends. But, what he did, I also understand where you're coming from as well, where there is really no coming back from what he did because, it involves, children. That being said, are we soon, is there sooner is there sooner are we sooner to forgive people like David Starr and Joey Ryan than Velveteen Dream? If they came out and said, trying to rebuild their image, trying to do what Patrick Clark is trying to do right now.
I mean, atonement is different than you can atone all you want. So I get with what Scooter is saying. Like, yeah, atonement is one part, but you still have to you just because you atone, that doesn't mean that you are instantly forgiven. So I get the point that he's making. So that with that, and I can see that delicate balance there. Because atonement does not equal retribution,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what that, and I get where he's coming from in that,
Yeah.
because it's a matter of whether the powers that be feel like he paid that debt, not whether Velveteen feels like he paid that debt.
Um, with given my life and the way it's gone, uh, I I making amends for me is essentially a big part of recovery and addiction. Yeah, it's part of the 12 steps, and you know that may sound like that may be an addiction, but there's there's no 12 steps for the P word.
Right. Well,
One word I won't say.
right. Um, if he is sorry and he does want to rebuild his image, and all of this is legit, fantastic. But do I see him ever coming back to WWE after this? No, I don't. So, if he's trying to be a better person, fantastic. But if he's doing this just to try and get back to WWE, then fuck that guy. Speaking of people that went through atonement, Andrade El Igolo. He's finally free from AEW after many years of trying to get free. Uh, it is expected that he is going back to WWE. But, like Naomi, is there really a spot for Andrade in WWE? Other than, on Charlotte's arm? Kaliko.
Maybe in the Santos Escobar thing. I mean, seems like to be a Spanish war popping off. So
But do you think that Andrade would accept being, an underling?
I wouldn't think he would pop in as an underling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
The
I always felt uh, Escobar was the better version of Andrade because he could actually cut promos. So how do you justify bringing somebody in like Andrade when you already have somebody like Escobar?
I mean, you could easily do a Zelina turn and reunite them for the time being. That's the thing about Andrade. He's he's the largest out of the recent of any luchador that would be there. So I
Yeah,
think his size would protect him. I mean, we're gonna hear his old WWE music. I forget whether it was Tranquilo that was said his open music. Uh, he's gonna
yep,
he's gonna be at the Rumble clearly. And be it Tampa, that would it's probably gonna get a good reaction since that's a hop, skip, and a jump away from Jacksonville.
Very true.
There were rumors that he could even be there as soon as this past Monday. And this past Tuesday on NXT, they were hyping up the return of the appearance of a former NXT champion, and that turned out to be Kevin Owens.
Interesting.
Who interviewed with Grayson Waller for some reason, despite not having an actual, feud on SmackDown in front of him. But yeah, on Andrade is he'll be back. Charlotte just signed a new deal, a great new deal. And while she gets the surgery, and that Charlotte tends to do that a lot. She's out, and ends up with an injury, comes back, has a dominant run, and then goes back out with an injury. She's like the worst roster case of Murphy's Law, not Buddy Murphy. It's I mean, seeing Charlotte and Andrade, seeing a WWE couple would be nothing new. I'd expect them to get a. Oh crap! Did James? We lose James? No, we did. I expect Charlotte and Andrade to get a reality show.
Interesting.
So Charlotte can,
with Charlotte and Andrade.
so Charlotte can do something, to earn her her paycheck. Not that she doesn't, but she'll probably be out on she'll be she's got a number of months. I think she's got even less than Sasha has until she returns to the ring. Yeah. And they almost had the same injury. It's
Chelsea's injury was ankle. Charlotte's is knee.
it's in this. It's a it's on the general location.
It's a leg.
It's a
injury.
leg, James. Jesus Christ. It's a leg. It's a goddamn leg. I didn't know we were on sports science. Shit.
So
but
if I stub my toe, it's a leg injury.
hey, this from the man who calls
Actually, yes, it would be.
a child
It would be.
in their womb for 9 months an injury.
Well, if it keeps you on the shelf for 9 months, it's an injury.
Oh, gosh. Oh, Jesus.
Oh man.
And we've had guests confirm this.
That's called paternity, not maternity. Jesus. Maternity is not an injury.
Correct.
Let's see a man do that.
Andrade in WWE. Good thing, bad thing. What do you see?
To me, everything is based on how they use them. I mean, because everybody coming back is a good thing. I'm just looking at if all these motherfuckers coming back, who the fuck about to get cut? Because it's a lot of goddamn people. There's gonna be a lot of fat getting trimmed around that bitch. You see what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it like everybody coming back somewhere. Somebody's about to get pushed out the door. So I guess it's a good thing. Honestly, as much as I like Santos Escobar, and he's starting to try to get his rise now. I mean, Idolo in NXT was just he was different, and they just screwed the pooch when he got on the main roster.
They're both legacy, though. You got to remember that.
Well, speaking of people that were fired, Elias is now Elijah.
Oh God.
And I mean, it's interesting because I didn't actually know that Elias wrestled.
No, it's just his fourth twin brother. He's quadruplets.
Hmm.
So what? Elias, Ezekiel, Elijah,
And Elrod.
and Elrod. Elrod sounds like some Texans. But
If it rhymes with if it's a verb that rhymes with the name, no. You can't put an H on the end of a word and it still be accurate. I didn't know Elias wanted to be the frickin' Pope.
Yeah. And the Pope.
Look at me, I'm the freaking Pope.
Well,
I mean, at this point, why not?
I'll be happy to set a plate for him every Passover. And then for everybody that doesn't know, for Passover, us Jews, we set a spot at the table that always remains empty because that is traditionally Elijah's feet.
Kind of like POWMIA, basically.
Yeah.
You must eat with Elijah all the time because you always have an empty seat at your dinner table.
I don't have a dinner table. I eat my food on my lap. Since I'm frozen to the chair in front of my laptop.
Well, we've been talking about all of WWE's, gets and wants when it comes to signing new talent. AEW signed Deonna Purrazzo. She is all elite now. Does it necessarily matter?
it makes a difference because it takes away from. I mean, Deonna was the she carried Impact for like a hot minute, so I mean,
I mean, till the
nothing
very
to
end,
snob at,
for one.
pretty much. So I mean, to get someone like that is huge. I I just hope they don't do her like they did all the other WWE people. You know, they come over, they get a title shot, then they fade in the background. You know, like Ruby Riot, Mariah, Tony Storm. Well, Tony Storm finally came back, but she was lost for a minute there.
Even Athena at this point.
Athena in ROH though is fucking on it,
But
and
she's
she's raising our homie Billy Starks
Yeah.
like a champion.
But I mean, Athena in AEW.
I mean, she's AEW by proxy, right? It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like going from a Lexus to a goddamn Toyota. They're the same goddamn thing.
Alright. Last comments on Deonna? Skittle?
Uh, yeah. Okay. Great. No. 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 She's gonna. She's. I think she's gonna fizzle out, and they're not gonna be able to do. They're not gonna do a damn thing. Uh, she'll see Tony Khan. All his signings to him are new toys,
Yeah.
and uh, I mean, oh crap! Now I forgot. One of our previous guests just signed a TNA.
Um,
I can't remember the name now. Damn it!
Corner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. Both safe and sound. Oh. Well, from signings to injuries, and we'll talk about the match when we get there. Keith Lee is still on the shelf. Um, had a match with Swerve, didn't make it. Talk about that a little bit later, but when is it time to kind of pull the trigger on Keith Lee at this point? Because he has had a plethora of injuries, health issues, and other in the past 3 years. And it's just a matter of somebody's health rather than, wanting to see this guy in a wrestling ring again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I find it very ironic that Adam Cole is basically a valet for the next 4 or 5 months. What they wanted to be Keith Lee, they wanted to be Budge,
Yep.
right? Butch and Budge, Jesus. But yeah.
When push comes to budge.
Um. Oh crap! When you search Keith Lee in Google, he doesn't come up at all.
I literally just found that out yesterday.
Yeah. Um. Ironically enough, uh, uh, Keith Lee and is still on the. Oh, that's weird. They still have his WD still has his superstar page up. They have a lot of their former talents pages still up.
Even if he leaves AEW at this point, if a contract comes out, what company, with morals is actually going to want to touch Keith Lee? You know what I mean?
It's an undisclosed injury, so I'm got to assume it's personal illness. Well, I mean, what physical injury aside from a massive, broken bone or many broken bones, or damage to an organ?
Let's say you, Kaliko. Your thoughts on Keith Lee?
Uh, I mean, I think he just needs a year to deal with this whole health thing and see how it's going to go for him. Because I hate that the fact that his best moment was in NXT, holding both belts, right?
Yeah, kind of capped off after that, didn't it?
It kind of, that was like the cap, that was like his peak. Um, and ever since then, it kind of fizzled out due to health or, concerns about his body or his well being. And I just want him to, I would hope, I mean, it's not my prerogative, but if he takes a year off to figure out what's going down and decide whether he's willing to do it all over again. More than likely, he's going to say yes. But sometimes, and he's going to have to come to grips with what the risk is versus reward of this whole endeavor, right?
Mm.
And that is where I just think he should just take that time off. Because honestly, if you tell him that he could get hurt in heal tomorrow and he'll come back at a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
But the issue is at what cost? Because it's funny how you know. For some people, I remember people gave WWE medical doctors hell, but everybody that kind of left after WWE, they've been kind of fucked up. So that's not a like. I'm dead ass serious. Like what? Daniel Bryan was fucking himself up. Keith Lee fucking himself up. Like all these people who kept saying like WWE didn't have like great medical, and it's just like, well, I, you kind of look at it from now. It's like maybe it was an overcautious, but it's an overcautious because they had people actually die from this shit. They don't want to have it happen on their conscience.
Right.
But Vice AEW's where it's more freestyle. Let's get your shit in. Ricks be damned. So there's no real way, and no one's telling them better. So
Nope.
they're risking their health to try to get the best pop on the spot than actually deal with the story in itself. Or that they're just dependent on one person and they ran that dude down the drain, MJF.
Well, selfishly, yeah, I would like to see Keith Lee come back, have a good run. Um, but I'm also in the boat of if he's not healthy enough to actually do this, then I would hope that he would have that sense in his head to say, if I go in there, it's going to hurt me, and maybe it's time for me to walk away.
No, it's gonna take someone. It when it comes to athletes, it rarely comes from them. And then at this point, you might as well call them an athlete. So when it comes to athletes, they're willing to die on their sword
Well,
if you let them.
hopefully Keith Lee does have that in his life. So,
Well, hopefully his lady will help him with that.
well, yeah. So, if he can make a return fantastic. If he can't, I just want him to be healthy. So that brings us to, as you said, dying on your sword. NDA is Jericho,
Hmm.
and Santa brought us the gift of Jericho, man. Read it on Twitter.
Twitter Jericho. Employee handbooks and all. Jesus Christ. fucking, fucking A.
If you've been living under a rock for the last, what, 2 weeks, then you did not see on Christmas Day at 4 a.m. in the morning, Chris Jericho went on Twitter to state that he did not sign an NDA when it came to the CM Punk Elite Scoreless at all out in Chicago 2022? Yeah, 2022. Um, I mean, why he needed to sign an NDA is beyond me. He wasn't fucking there. Um, if he was literally talking in the press conference when it was going on. Fun bit of fact there. But then, CM Punk's lawyer, Stephen P. New, who is also Jim Cornette's lawyer, um, got onto the conversation and said, well, it's in your employee handbook book, and let's kind of figure this out. Which made a rant of Jericho just saying that he's never had a handbook, he's never signed an NDA, and, he's God, and, all that fun stuff. Um, you would think that that would be the end of it, but it got worse somehow.
That's true.
Nick Hausman. It is Nick Hausman, right?
From I don't wanna plug
Yeah, no, but Nick
wrestling
Hausman.
site.
But he went on Twitter to mention that people had to sign NDAs when it pertained to Chris Jericho. Um, okay, and then he implied on his show that Chris Jericho was Harvey Weinstein and just running through the women's locker room doing horrible, atrocious things. Um, and that prompted us to where we currently are, and that is that there may have been some allegations, miscommunications, whatever you want to call them, between Chris Jericho and Kylie Ray that led to her release at the beginning of AEW back in 2019. Whew, that is a lot of information, no?
Yeah. Oh boy. I
So,
mean, yeah.
where do you guys want to start? The Twitter tirade on Christmas, the allegations by Hausman, or the allegations from Kylie Ray? If
Well,
anything to make
Yes.
me.
Yes. Because in the
yes.
words of the great Kendrick Lamar, love is going to get you killed, but pride will be the death of you. And Chris Jericho's pride got his ass putting some shit that he ain't want to
Yeah.
be in.
Yeah. And if he hadn't said anything, he'd be in a much better position today. But the thing about this is that when Kylie Ray had her release, we were told that she wanted to focus on her mental health. And that's what angers me most. Because I already talked about, a lot of my mental health in the past. I'm not going to talk about it again. We'll never get out of here. The fact that would mean that she lied about it, or that was, the story peddled, and she just went with it, which is scary in its own right. Um, I mean, it goes to show you can be accused 1 minute, then the person who accuses you, in this case, I'm talking about Houseman, backtracks on his stuff and says, "Oh, it was taken out of context." Yeah, I doubt how saying he's Harvey Weinstein can be backtracked on.
He was literally a monster.
Yep.
That's like saying, oh, well, he's like a modern day Charles Manson. And, well, that can be taken out of context. No, it cannot be taken out of context.
Yeah. You can't even take out of context of being modern day Marilyn Manson.
Exactly.
But yeah, for someone in Jericho's kind of position of power, all this stuff can happen, and he can just go on, it's another day, and he can announce, matches for, his cruise. I mean, that's still friggin' happening. Matches dropped today. And it's a weird, it's a weird card. I didn't know the Jericho cruise had its own titles. But that puts a lot of this in the scheme of things. I mean, until, and that's the thing. We've forgotten about innocent until proven guilty, and we know that Jericho has grown into being a bit of an unpleasant asshole.
Right.
And he's a lot of things. Is he guilty of sexual assault? I'm the person who judges slowly, and I need more proof than an emoji.
I'll give my comments after we hear from Felipe.
I mean, I already said what I need to say. If he had kept his mouth shut, he wouldn't have been in this. Because that's his. But that's how people roll when they think they're above people, right? Like, oh, there's a handbook. Well, I never had a handbook. I'm the great. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, now you're in some firestorm because of the fact that you just didn't think before you sent it out. You just led with the arrogance because you're Chris Jericho.
Too many
And
YJ Stingers.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think people would learn from like cats like Ric Flair and people who think that they're gods and shit, but I guess it never failed.
And keep in mind, this is a very different Chris Jericho than when he was in WWE. He is somewhat more
Dad
power
body?
trippy than he was.
Also fat.
Huh?
He's also fat!
Oh yeah, there was never a debate about that.
Worse dad bod than Miz.
I mean, you could say that he kind of has the physique of Harvey Weinstein.
Granddad bod. That's what we're calling it.
There you go. I'm when things come out like this, my first initial thought is, well, I could see that happening, or something of that line. So I'm not going to, accuse anybody of anything, but it doesn't surprise me when things like this come out. That being said, I am a Chris Jericho fan. Always has been. He is one of my favorite guys. His WWE run. Um, and I will be the first one to admit to you that Chris Jericho is an asshole. Has NDAs been signed by the men of maybe, different storyline pitches, creative differences, arguments, skirmishes that we don't know about that were in behind the scenes of AEW?
Mm.
Were those signed? Maybe.
Mm.
I could absolutely see that happening. But Chris Jericho being, accused of these allegations, I don't see that happening. I don't see him being that type of person. He's been married and he's been married for a very long time. He has 3 kids. There is no past allegations or uh, promiscuity on his part in the past. Um,
Guy ran with Lance Storm. Come on.
yeah, that guy is literally a drought when it comes to the sexual scene.
Yeah, the party doesn't start till Lance Storm walks out.
Exactly.
Out
So
of the room. Not out to, the ring.
I thought you meant like out of the building, but
No, that too.
So, was there maybe a negative encounter between Kylie Ray and Chris Jericho? I could see that happening. Could he have said something, or could have something been miscommunicated between the both of them? Yes, absolutely. Like it's documented in the past. Kylie Ray is, she has her mental health issues in the past. Um, so I can absolutely see. I'm not saying that that was, had anything to do with it, but I could see where she may have felt uncomfortable or, took it the wrong way, and that's kind of where we are now. That being said, Chris Jericho has not said anything. Kylie Ray hasn't said anything. She may not be able to say anything because she might have signed an NDA. And when Tony Khan was asked about it at the media scrum, he did not deny and or confirm anything concerning all of this. One thing about Tony Khan, he could have squashed this in 2 sentences. No, Chris Jericho has never had any allegations or misconduct when it comes to pertaining to all women. But he didn't.
Here's the one thing I think people are forgetting. Within regards to criminal activity, NDAs do not apply. And you can't enforce NDAs for everyday conversation, which is what's being implied here. I mean, is Jericho paranoid? I mean, in his old age, something I never thought I'd say. You know, the man, he's 53 for God's sake. I mean, today I thought Chris Jericho would be a relic, but this whole crap about NDAs, if everything comes out, there's no NDA in the world that would protect him, nor would it protect Kylie Ray in the same manner. Unless she's got proof that it happened. I mean, at this point, people will, people. There's a lot of people that would probably agree with her if she simply said, "Chris Jericho sexually assaulted me." Uh, it's it, it's so unusual, and it's so it's so strange that that a lot of people don't really know the basics, and they throw around terms like NDA to keep people under wraps, and and people don't remember if they sign an NDA. This is so much of an unusual situation that, I mean, is Chris Jericho going to sink his boat? I wouldn't be surprised if at least one person on board tried to. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a group protesting right at the dock. Or if protesters were the ones who bought all of his tickets. It's just there's so much going on here that it just hurts my head.
I don't think. Okay, let's stop for 1 second and say that there was misconduct on Chris Jericho's part pertaining to Kylie Ray. Yes, let's forget about that little tidbit for a second. How bad does this make Tony Khan look?
He already looked terrible to a lot of wrestling fans. I mean, you gotta remember that after he said no comment, he also took about a couple of hits of blow, more hits of blow, off camera.
Well, this is the same guy that took shots at Vince McMahon for his misconducts, and his extracurricular activities, and then you have, and we're talking about literally the inception of AEW at this point. You have a girl that says, this guy, did something, and your first thing is, well, fire her and make her sign an NDA. That is a terrible look for Tony Khan, no?
And it's a possible lawsuit too, wrongful termination.
Well, no, she asked for her release.
I know, but again, everything going back has to be kind of looked at again.
Scrutinized, essentially.
Yeah.
Fine-tooth combed.
Well, you could definitely say, if this actually happened, Tony Khan is just as much of an issue in this whole thing as Chris Jericho is as well. If he's aiding and, covering up these, allegations himself.
Aid in the bet. So you wanna own wrestling?
I mean, with Vince's allegations, we knew Vince was a schmuck. Oh, yeah. We knew it because he's admitted to cheating.
Oh, yeah.
While married. So, it's one thing for, the top, the CEO of a company to be accused himself. And, if yourself, if you are accused, it's another thing to have one of your top guys accused. Because, that, as much as I hate to give Tony the benefit of the doubt here, aside from no comment, which is, I think that's the professional thing to do, it's possible that Tony wants to learn, do the due diligence himself. Likely not. It's possibly Tony Khan had already sided with Jericho and knew, these allegations were, unfaceted. It's, again, it goes back to that whole, like, every part of Jericho's life is now going to be scrutinized. And every woman in that locker room is going to be hounded. Like, did you do something? Did Chris Jericho do something to you? Did Chris Jericho do something to you? And it's a fucking feeding frenzy at this point. So.
And the crazy thing about it is, it was an offhanded comment from a spoiler sheet guy, Nick Hausman. Also, a spoiler sheet guy that's friends with CM Punk.
That's a grudge against Jericho already.
Exactly. So, he's and if you say something on Twitter, then it's 100% real, and everybody is going to believe it. That's the rules. So, there could be nothing to this. Does seem like there is something, the way that Jericho and Tony has been handling it. But I hope that it's maybe not as severe as it's implied that it is, or that it damages how we view Chris Jericho in the future. Because he's damaging his own image every time he gets in the ring. Any last comments, or should we just get to the next thing?
Gonna see Grandpa Jericho now?
You should have just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I may retire. I think I might actually retire my Chris Jericho faction now.
And the last bit of news, so we get out of here on a positive note. Shotzi Blackheart has gotten married. She eloped in Las Vegas and then teamed with Bianca Belair to take on Damage Control later in the night. What a way to get married.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Congratulations.
Exactly.
Oh God, and there's the whole thing with just before we get out of here, William Regal made his first WWE on-screen appearance for his son Charlie Dempsey, as he went to All Japan Pro Wrestling, which honestly I had no idea still existed until this announcement.
Oh, it existed. It still existed.
But that working relationship is something we'll probably see more develop going into next week.
Alright. That will conclude our coverage of the news. And now a quick word from our sponsors.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.